Okay, designate a spread, title it Portrait Proportions across the top, and we're going to have this side be where we practice different facial features, right? Like eyes and nose, mouth, ears, and so on. And on the right side will be the actual portrait that we draw to learn where to place the eyes and the nose and the mouth, right? If you're left-handed, you could switch it. It might be easier, all right? I'm right-handed, so I'm going to be drawing on this side, the actual face, okay? As long as you have both, it's all good, okay? And what we did, we take our viewfinder to make a unit of measurement. So I made it 1 digit of my finger, and it could be anything, any size. If we were doing a big wall mural, it could be like the size of my whole hand would be the unit of measurement. It doesn't really matter. It could be 1 foot, it could be 2 feet, it could be 1 inch. It doesn't matter, right? And here's what I mean. All right, right here at the top, the unit of measurement, we're going to go like this. Make a little line on your sketchbook there, and then another one here. All right, and then a really light line through them, like that. So it looks like a little barbell. And we're going to draw the contour of the eye lids, because the unit of measurement, the way we compare things on the face is in relationship to the eye, right? Remember, proportion means the relationship of one shape to another shape, or the size of one thing to another, okay? And so you can have really big proportions, small proportions, whatever, but proportion means the way one thing relates to another thing in terms of size. And the eyeball is our unit to measure by. How many eyes wide, and so on, is the head, for example, okay? Now the top of the eyeball, here's one little feature tip. The top of the eyeball curve is different than the bottom. Usually there's less curve here and a little more, but it's really just different on every person, right? But these are going to be called, these areas at the ends of it, there's like, this is a right eye, you know, if we're facing it. So this is the inside corner right here. And it's almost like a little bird beak. Then this curve usually kind of goes up and then over, but honestly, everybody's eyes are a little different. But notice the imaginary line going through and how the upper contour is different than the bottom, okay? Now that's a little side note, honestly. We could have done it just whoop, whoop, real quick. That's one eye. But I'm trying to slip in a little more details because it takes a long time to learn everything about how to draw faces and bodies. You know, people take whole classes for years on end to learn this stuff. And I'm just giving you guys the most basic, quick tips, okay? So this is one eye. I should have made that spatial though. One eye. Let me make that eye. I mean, that one look like a one eyeball. Okay. If you're really tempted, you could try to draw in the iris and the pupil. Okay, but that's not really the point of this lesson. Right? Just the shape. That's all we need. That distance. Remember, and it's this distance here. Okay. Now we're set up. We're going to start drawing on the right side now. So here we go. I'm going to zoom in a little bit to help out. Now to start with, let's do this first on the left side. Okay. Basic head shape. Okay, write that. Basic head shape. I promise you that's what it says. Basic head shape. All right, here's a way to draw the head. If you draw a circle and then a jawbone that adds like 1/3 or more distance down, all right, you get that shape right there. Right? It's not round. It's not too oval, but it's more like an egg. A little pointier at the chin side and a little wider in the upper half. If you drew a line through the middle, right, it'd be like that. So try it again. Circle, find the circle, and add a jaw. Okay, that's one way to do it. If you feel like you could get an egg in one try. Go ahead. Right, but it dips a little bit. Don't make the chin too pointy. And the head's not too round, okay? But that's a basic head shape. If we did it from the side, this is frontal. This is from the front. When we say from the front, we say frontal. From the side, it's more like that. And neck. All right, so it's more like an oval. And then a little triangle there. That's called a profile. Remember, we did the mirror profiles. All right, so what we're going for is that on the right side, but we're going to go a little bigger, quite a bit bigger, actually. Okay, so there's a little practice. I can take that and put those together, or not, whatever. Oop, too far. Okay, now what we're going to do is draw the basic head shape over here, but I'm going to try to make it in the shape of a head, but remembering that it's not the actual head. We're not going to actually keep this line. It's just an estimation, all right? So first, before you start, find a midpoint here of your paper. Put a little line there, all right? And you want it to fit like this. Make a mark at the top and then measure that distance by going, put your pencil all the way to the top and then put my thumb here, okay? And then make a mark at the bottom. That's the same distance. Okay, so this distance is the same as this distance. Let me move that over a little bit. And let's make a little midline here, really lightly. I'm making mine a little darker so you guys can see on the screen. All right, so this distance and this distance are the same. Very important. It's the first step, okay? Now I'm going to try to make this shape fit in the whole thing. All right, and if you notice this, guys, as you draw it, if you drew a line through the middle of this, and then through the middle again, look at the differences in the curves in each corner, right? We did this in the very first week of this class, right? There's a little difference in the top half and the lower half, okay? And don't get too worked up about it on this side. You're just estimating, okay? You're estimating and do it lightly. Here goes. Go outwards and then in. Right? And it can be really light. It's all good because it's not going to stay. You're going to actually end up getting rid of this line later on because it's not the real head. So find your way around like so. And it's like mine's a little bumpier over here and whatever. It's okay. No big deal. We're going to adjust it later. All right. And then we want to label this first vertical line we did. All right. That's your major axis. Sorry, it's a little off screen, isn't it? All right, major axis. That's called the major. And artists use imaginary lines to line things up and measure proportions and try to figure out where to place the eye and the mouth and the nose. And people do the same thing when they do landscapes. How big is the cliff compared to something else in the landscape, right? And so we have to measure by using imaginary lines that we see going across or going vertically. So going across, we have another imaginary line called the minor axis. Okay. And now we're going to start placing features on the face. Okay. Now, if you remember, the unit of measurement is 1 eye. I'm using my viewfinder card now. All right. I made this distance of one finger digit, excuse me, one of your joints right there. And what I want to do is place this right across the middle. So it's half on one side, half on the other, and make markings. So that's going to be, that distance right there is 1 eye from line to line. Okay, from here to here, 1 eye. And then repeat to the other side. So go from there out to the right, make another one, and one more. All right. All right, and what we've made is 5 spaces, right? 5 zones, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? One eye in the middle, the 2 eyes, and then out to the ears or beyond. Okay, so we got 5 eyes across. All right, and then remember what I was saying about the eyeball over here on the left side. We practice it. All right. We can practice some more eyes in a minute, but you can now place 2 eyes in these spaces in spot 2 and spot 4 right there. Okay. And I want you guys to know this. We're starting here in the middle, going outwards, right? Because that's the way to place when you're like painting or drawing a real portrait, doing a big project. You want to start in the middle and work outwards and not the other way around. That way it'll help you get more accurate proportion. Right? So let's draw just the outer contours of eye, right? And there's a lot I'm skipping right now, like how high should it be, and there's so many details to pay attention to, but just get your best eye contour here, just to place it. And we're not going to draw any details, okay? Don't draw the iris or the pupils or shading or anything, just the basic shapes we're placing first, okay? So what you see here is there's 2 eyes, but the whole head is 5 eyes wide. All right. And I want you to notice another thing. The eyes are right in the middle between the very top of the head and the bottom of the jaw. And you could measure this on your own face. If you take your hand and measure this distance, and then if you're looking at the camera, you might see what I'm doing. Put your hand at your eyes and then measure from the top. It's a little hard to measure your own head and face, but the eyes are in the middle. And most people draw the eyes too high up. And that's like one way we cartoon, one way we distort things and change things for cartoons, right? Like a typical face that people draw, they go like this, they make eyes, they make a nose. If I asked you guys to draw a face, it'd probably be like that, right? And notice if you draw the axis lines, the eyes are too high, the features are too weird. Usually the eyes are too big, but that makes a cartoon, all right? And so we're learning accurate, and then how when we distort things a little bit, eventually, we do it on purpose and not on accident. So when people ask you, "Oh, it's a cartoon," like, no, that's supposed to be realistic. You'll do it on purpose, one way or the other. Okay. Now, working outwards from there. You guys with me? You guys got at least the Jason mask from Friday the 13th here? Type an X in the chat if you got at least this. I don't want to go too fast, but you can rest assured if you miss something, there'll be lots of review. This is just your first introduction, okay? Good. Looks like most of you guys are ready. Now, to work outwards, we could go with the nose next or the eyebrows, and I don't care which we do, so I'm going to start with the nose, okay? Now, one thing to notice, when we're trying to do with proportions on the face, we want to place the nose a certain way. So the way we measure is from the inside corners of the eyes, right here and here. If you do a little dotted line downwards, right, the nostrils are often pretty close to that. Everybody's different. Okay, I'm gonna zoom in on this a little bit. Right, sometimes people's noses are lined up. The nostril is, if you go straight up from the nostril, it's right on the corner of the eye. Some people, it's more like the colored part of the eye, like they have wider noses. Right, different ethnicities have different noses typically. Right, and you'll notice some patterns there too. Okay, so the question is, how wide should we draw it, and how far down? All right. Now here's a fun little trick you guys could do right now. If you take your hand and take your thumb and put it on this joint right here, right there on that joint, and then line up the tip of your nose right here and put your tip of your finger, your index finger, between your eyes. And if you can see on the screen where my Zoom screen, just put your nose, put your hand right there, your thumb right at the tip of your nose. You'll notice the length. Okay, what I'm trying to show you is this length right here is the same as the length of your nose, from tip of your nose to the middle of your eyes. All right, that's a proportion, that's a relationship. If somebody has really long hands, they typically have a long nose, right? And same goes when we're drawing the imaginary face. There's a certain distance down, and it's often pretty close to 1.5 eyes. It might be a little shorter, it might be a little longer, but somewhere in that range right there, going downwards. Okay, there's other ways to measure it too, right? But let's start with that one first, right? So take this distance and estimate that. I'm going to make mine a little shorter than that. So it's like this distance, 1.5 eyes, and one eye. Oh, remember I got this. Go one eye down and then a little more into like there. Okay, and make a mark. That's going to be where the nose starts. Okay, I did one eye and about a half, maybe a little less. Okay. All right, now to draw the nose, we don't usually draw the whole bridge. It's the bone part up here, the part I've broken like twice. And we actually just draw the bottom only. And here, let's go to the features side now and practice noses. Ready? Write the word noses. And here is a way to understand how to draw a nose. You make a line of a nostril, and it might kind of curl in, then the fleshy part of the middle part of the nose, and then the other nostril. Try that. Another way, let me do it a little more simply, is nostril, and then a little dip for, not a little dip, a long dip for the fleshy part of the nose, and then a nostril. All right. Some people's nose like a little longer, maybe a little more nostril shows. All right. And so we make a guideline similar to these. They're like an M with wings. See the M right here? It flips up or it's stretched out. It might be more like that. So try a few different nose shapes, noticing that there's like this fleshy part in the middle and then some nostrils. And try a few different ones. You can draw small or big. The idea to kind of remember those contours. They're really different on different noses, huh? Because when we want to draw a really realistic face, you want to have very few lines on it, unless they're super old like me. You got lots of lines on your face. But it's the shading that makes a face look like a face and really realistic. But we're not going there yet. So you start with some guidelines like this. All right. And like I said, it can go out a little past the inside of the nose, corners of the eye, or a little narrower, right? So I'm going to start here and come in, and then I'm going to like curl, come back out, and dip down for the fleshy part of the nose. And up. Okay. And the height of the nostril over here, make sure it kind of, if you feel like the height of your nostril, it's not a whole eye height. Okay. It's a good tip, Paige. She's writing in the chat. She does like a circle and then a couple half circles, right? And then you kind of connect them. There's like a nostril here. That's a good tip. Good idea. All right. All right, now the placement here, remember this was about one eye and a half down. Okay. Now, if I'm gonna stick to the plan and go from the middle outwards, if I do the mouth first, I'm kind of forgetting the eyebrows. So let's go back to the eyebrows, then go to the mouth after that. All right, eyebrows, there's a lot of variation in people's eyebrows, right? And because people often pluck them or, it grows differently on different people, right? So what I'm about to tell you is just something to notice, something to kind of measure and figure out. But one typical way to plot out and plan the eyebrows is they are placed this far up. Basically, one eye upwards from the bottom of the eye, right, is where the top of the eyebrows might be. Okay, pretty close to that, maybe a little less. Some people's eyebrows are a little lower, some seem a little higher, but it's really close to one of those. So I'm going to put a dot there from the middle of the eye. From the bottom up, there's one eye. One eye, right? One eye up. All right, now eyebrows. Let's go, before we draw them, let's go over here and study eyebrows for a moment. If you have an eyeball, remember the little point, little corner, right? You go up. All right, let's do eyebrow right here. There are all kinds of shapes, but look at how there's like the front part of the eyebrow that goes to the middle of the head, right? So here's like somebody's nose down here, right? There's the bigger part often, and then the part that goes away from us to sort of the side planes of the head, right? And you have like this, basically a tapered rectangle, and then like another tapered triangular rectangle right there. But then again, people's eyes and eyebrows, right? So you got an eye. Now I'm just going to do some eyebrows only. Sometimes they're more like this, more rounded. Sometimes they're more sculpted. This is like how people paint them on sometimes, real thin. All right. This is just the basic shape. And then if you're going to make it hairy, there's all kinds of texture lines. You can make broken line, right? Oftentimes it's thicker and then it gets a little thinner like that. Wow, that one's really crawling across, huh? Like a little caterpillar. Right, so all of these are like on the one side of the face, on this side, the left side of the face. All right, so try a shape and then you just try to mirror it on the other side when we're doing this practice. So the inside of the eyebrow typically goes further in than the eye, like to here, right? You want a little space. If they're connected, you have a unibrow. That's what my family's tradition is, unibrows, right? But draw a rectangle that might taper. Taper means kind of shrink a little bit as it goes outwards, and then it turns like that. Okay, so that's kind of a big, heavy eyebrow, but you can make it how you want. You can make it thinner, you can make it thicker, but just an outline for now. You don't need to like get any details in there. Right above, like the middle to over a little bit from 2/3 over, then it starts tapering to the side. All right, and get a shape there. Eyebrows. Okay. Now I got another fun measurement. All right, so we got 3 eyes across right here, and that's actually the same distance from the outside corner of the eyes to the mouth. The question is, like, which part of the mouth? Up the top of the mouth, the opening of the mouth, or the bottom of the lip, bottom of the lower lip? Well, there's a little variation in people based on that. So I'm going to take this distance, right? I got it mismeasured here. Okay, so I got 3 eyes, 1 eye, 2 eyes, 3 eyes. Okay, and go to the midline. All right, so right here. And in my face, that's going to have to be the bottom of the mouth. All right, so eyes to bottom of mouth. Now, it's possible that when somebody's nose is a little longer, right, and their mouth might go a little lower, so their face appears a little longer, right, that this marking might be like the opening of the mouth rather than the lip. But this distance, I'm sensing that's going to need to be the lower lip. All right, so I'm going to make a line here for the middle, and here's the upper lip right there. Okay, let's talk about lips. Okay, now at the end of this, you have a face where the mouth is way too far down. Just notice this, if you would, on your own face. Put your finger across your mustache, and you'll notice that the height of your upper lip is pretty close, maybe a little bigger than the thickness of your finger. And then that same finger, if you put it over your eye, it's about the height of your eye. So what I'm trying to say is this distance right here, like 1 eye might fit right there. Now it looks like a mouth that's too close to his nose, right? So I'm going to erase that so you guys don't get confused. But that distance is, compare it to the height of the eye, and you'll get a pretty close estimation of the mouth. It might be a little lower, a little than that though. Okay, now let's talk about the mouth. All right, let's go over to the left side for the features. Okay, some basics for the mouth. All right, upper lip is like a stretched out M, which is nice and easy to remember because mouth. Stretch out that M. Now this is called the Cupid's bow, where there's a philtrum, that dip, that like dent above your lip is called the philtrum. That's right there, right? Right. This line here is really different on different people. Okay, but I'm going to talk about that more in a moment. The main mistake people make when drawing mouths is they connect all the lines of the lips. So when I draw this, I'm going to disconnect the lines. Here goes. The lower part of the upper lip, right, has a similar contour. It goes in and it might have a little bump right there. And you stretch it out even more, but don't connect the lines. Keep them disconnected, also known as broken lines. Disconnected right here. And then the lower lip is often thicker than the upper lip, but that's different on different people, right? So just notice the relationship of upper lip and lower lip and try to compare sizes. And the lower lip, to make it look round and such, you don't want to connect the lines. Again, just make it a starting point like that. And it's usually just a stretched out U, the curve like that. All right, so there's like a typical mouth, but there's lots of variation in people. It might be more like that, like barely pointy at the top lip. And then there's usually a little dip right here. And then the lower lip sometimes is even thinner, right? And if you look closely, another mistake people make when they're shading or otherwise drawing lips is they make the upper part of the lip dark. If you look closely in the mirror, this actually, the edge of the top lip is the lightest part of the upper lip, right? So you usually want to erase that black line. That's what sticks out the most and is like lighter color, lighter value on the tip of the mid lip. That's for another day. All right, try a few more mouths. All right, really strong Cupid's bow. more of a cartoony style mouth, maybe. Right, maybe that goes out a little further, but keep them slightly disconnected or just completely disconnected. It's a weird mouth, but that's cool. All right, so try a few different, right? The M, the stretched out U, and the U. Moo. Right? No way to remember it. And then over here, do the same thing. And the next question is how wide? The middle of the eyes is what you want to compare when placing the corners of the mouth. Okay, so here I go. I'm not going to go all the way out. Instead, I'm going to start a little bit in and stretch it out like that. So I got this stretched out M, not too pointy of a Cupid's bow. All right, then repeat, but stretch it out more. So I got a little bit of bump right there, the middle of the lip, and then the lower part. All right, and there's that relationship once again, middle of eye to corners of mouth. Now, if you guys look closely, I have made it so these features are kind of big for the head that I originally drew, right? Like I don't have much room for a jaw now. That's why I said this line is an estimation. We're going to get rid of it over time. Okay, I'm going to pull back a little bit. Let me know you guys are ready for the next steps because we got to draw the contour of the head and the ears and we'll be done for now. Okay, let me know by type of X in the chat. Okay, so if I just use this line as the head, that's too close to the features. Just going to cut everything off. So we're going to have to build it out a little more. Okay, you have these dotted lines. They're not tears to indicate the relationship. Inside corner of eye, notice that compared to where the nostril is on someone. Middle of eyes to corners of mouth. But now, you probably don't have a mirror next to you, and you sure as heck don't have your camera on so you can see your face better. But you start looking at the distances from corner of mouth to the chin when you're looking in the mirror, right? Out here and out here. And these distances from here to the outer part of the head or the mouth to the outer jaw and so on, all right? And we're going to try to draw an actual head shape around this now. But before we do, why don't we try this? Right? To understand how the head line curves around like this and how to draw a jawbone, what I want you guys to do is put your hands on your head, take off your hat if you need to, and just put your hands on the very top and feel outwards how like flat the top of your head is compared to like when it goes down on the sides. And you feel your temples, that's sort of like that dent, right, by this, to the side of your eyes. And feel where it goes in, then a cheekbone coming out, it comes in, and then your jaw, right? And feel that the bones of your head, your skull, your cheeks, and then it gets soft maybe, and then the jaw. And feel that line. And that's what we're going to draw right now. It goes kind of like this. I know that I need more jaw down here, so I'm going to extend this out. Remember, this distance to the middle and this distance to the middle is the same. So I got to make it a little bigger. I'm going to aim for like here now, this distance. The whole chin is like at least one eye, maybe more. If you're Jay Leno, it's probably two. All right. So somewhere down here, so I got to extend the top too. All right. So I got this point and this point. I'm going a little bigger. And here it goes outwards. And then it kind of goes quickly down. This gets tricky. Kind of curves in where there's a temple just a tiny bit. And then there's a cheekbone here. So I got to go around the cheekbone. And I'm aiming for here. So I kind of plan it out. And everybody's jawbone and cheeks are a little bit more puffy or not, right? But it comes down and then tapers in and kind of feel your jaw. When I get the front right there. So maybe closer to like that contour. Maybe it goes out a little more. Oop, I'm missing, not as good. All right, so see how the contour goes a little more squarish at the top and a little more like wrap around the jaw. This is a tricky line to draw. And when we paint and draw faces, down the line, when we get more and more expert with this, it's still like a journey to find that line to get that person's contour just right. Right? And notice this, I went through over here between that fifth eye, right? This distance here from corner of eye to the edge of the head is less than one eye. It's like half an eye right there. And then you go all the way out for the ear. So this is where it might get a little more, go out a little bit, come taper in slightly to hit that midpoint. That's a little too much probably. Go out a little further. I go out for the cheek. And I'm trying to get to here, so I kind of plan it out. And I want to mirror over here, get the jaw same on both sides. Right? And try to gradually get it. Now I got all these distracting lines from my original oval. But I'm really glad it didn't line up exactly, because I want you guys to know that no matter what you do at the beginning, you're going to have to make adjustments when you draw a face, when you draw it realistically, especially. When you draw cartoons, you can do whatever you want, right? Which is where we're actually trying to go with this. So I'm going to take my eraser and get rid of this line so I can kind of see what I got a little better. Get rid of that original guideline. And if you don't have an eraser, we can shade over it, but you should have an eraser if you got the box. There's a lot more boxes at school, by the way, more supplies. Okay, so there's a basic contour of the head and the eye placement. Remember, eyes in the middle, right? And there's this triangle that, we gotta get the ears. What am I doing? Okay, let's talk about ears real quick. Then we'll draw the triangle on here again, okay? The ears, if you go on your eye level and go outwards to the top of your ears and back and forth like this on your own face, you feel like the middle of your eyes and go back to the top of your ears. It's like a straight line back. In other words, the top of the ear is right here. You cross your eyes and go, there's your top of your ear. And the bottom of your ear lines up with the bottom of your nose. We can draw a minor axis line across, and the ear is going to go here. And how to draw ears here? Well, there's a lot of variety in ears too. Let's go to this side. Let's talk about ears for a moment. I know there's a lot for one day, but you guys are getting a lot of good stuff. All right. Ears, if you look at it from the profile, that means the side. It's like a question mark that loops back up. Think question mark, and then loops back up for a little bit. And the top of the ear connects further back on the head than the bottom, right? And then you can talk about like the cartilage and this shape here. There's like this weird bump thing, and it's all dark in there, and sometimes hairy, whatever. All right, there's your ear. It's this. This is all you need to know right now. Question mark goes up. But some people's ears are a little more like that, right? Or a little bit more like that. That's actually maybe not quite. Maybe if they got gauges. How about that? That means a big hole in their earlobe right there. They're from Santa Cruz. They're actually, most people that are from Santa Cruz don't have that. People who come to Santa Cruz have that. Okay. Anyway, that's another story. Okay, so it's the question mark from the side view that goes up. And then how do you draw it from the front? Because remember, we're drawing frontal. This is called frontal. Right, so frontal ears is the same thing. It's the same thing, but you squeeze it together like this. So your ear will be more like that. So the distances are lesser. Right? So just try that shape a few times. Not too fast. Like try to imagine the shape of the ear. Okay? And then this line to help you draw, make it look like an ear, just echoes that curve. And a hard, darker shadow, and then it softens up. Try that. And if you really want to get this, it's not really necessary for our purposes today, but if you get the whole of the ear, where the ear hole is, you could shade that in. There's like this bump that protects, I guess it protects, there's a little cartilage sticking out right there. So when we're looking at it from the front, it actually sticks out a little, well, not quite that much, but there's like this little bloop, little bump. Right? So you can imagine as we maybe go too fast and kind of do it a little sloppy, it starts looking more like a cartoon. That's kind of where we're going with this, right? Go up here and draw an ear. Connect the top, and it comes down, and then there's an earlobe right there. Ear. If they're an MMA fighter, or jiu-jitsu, or wrestler, they may just have cauliflower coming on the side of their head. Okay. Now check this out, ladies and gentlemen. This is where I want you to end up. And the head may look giant to you right now. And it's because there's no shading on the face mainly, and there's no hair, and there's nothing covering it, right? But here is something to notice. Okay. There's a few things I actually want you to notice. Okay, you got your midline right here. There's like basically two halves to the face. And if you take those two halves and split them one more time, you have basically the front of the face and then the sides of the face. Okay? The two fronts, the left and right of the front, and then the two sides of your face. If you feel your own face, like front, right, front, left, and then right side and left side. Okay? And where the front changes to be the side is about where the cheekbone sticks out the most. Right? So we can go about here, outside corner of eyes, right? And draw a dotted line like this. And there's these sort of like 4 zones. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if we have light coming from one side or another, you go, there's like a dark side, and then maybe some shadows where nose and eye recedes. There's a little bit shadow under the, around the eyes because they're set into the face. Maybe upper lip, down here in the bottom. So I'm going really fast, I understand. And then you get a neck. Remember, this is a being videoed, so you guys can watch it later, get any more details. All right, so as we start to shade, you can start turning. This part of the head will look smaller in a sense because it's shaded. It goes away a little bit. Under the nose, there's the philtrum. I'm kind of getting carried away with some details I don't need to. All right. And as a last step, let's notice that magic triangle that I was talking about earlier. I'm taking a colored pencil so you guys can see better, but from corner of eye to corner of eye, and then coming down to, on my face that I drew here, goes down to the bottom of the mouth. I missed a little bit. But to point out that this point is either the bottom, middle, not usually the top of the mouth, but somewhere in this zone on the lower lip. So kind of try to measure that. Okay. And that's a one way to place it. The mouth. and help you place the features more accurately. All right. Now, what I would like you guys to do is you can review this video in your asynchronous time. You can practice more features over here, but your spread should look something like this for the portrait proportions, the 2 pages. All right. And you can draw more eyes if you wanted. If you've got a bunch of blank space, go for it. You can also take it a little further if you want to practice like actually shading this a little bit. It's okay if you don't, but the eyes usually cut off at the top and you see the bottom, but it's different for everybody. I'm not drawing the whole black of the pupil because there's highlights. Eyes are looking at you. There will be wrinkles above the eye. And I'm saying this more for the video than for what you guys have to do right now. You don't have to get all these details. We're just talking about placement for now. Maybe darker nostrils. That's usually the darkest part on the face is the nose holes. Shade that lip a little more. You can take it a little further if you feel ready for it. All right, there's usually a shadow under the lip over here to kind of describe the butt of the jaw. It's called the butt. Sometimes it literally looks like a butt crack right there. Not usually though. Right, darker under the neck. Probably would have been better to do contour line, cross contour. Bones. Yada, 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 yada. All right. That's all I want you to know today. All right. And then tomorrow we'll go into figure proportions, which I don't know if I have them. There's a sample. We'll do something like that. That's actually going to be quicker. It's a little easier. All right. And that's that. Okay. Anybody have a question before we finish? All right. That was good timing, I must say, because class ends right now, technically, 12:55. We did 80 minutes of drawing except for a Kahoot. Good job. All right. I wish you guys a beautiful day. And don't forget to finish those both Kahoots reviews if you didn't do them. Okay. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Looks like the sun's coming out here in Santa Cruz. How about you guys, Castroville?
Yeah, it's out right now.
You go get it. All right. Bye-bye. Have a good day, guys.